Some people just want to watch the world burn. What can I say? Here we go. Fantastic. Okay. Here we are. We have a viewer submitted game. Submitted by the lovely Sonoy, 1997. This is a game that he just played in the prelims of the World Championship. If you don't know about it, check out the 5D Chess Discord. In the tourneys page, there's a fun anniversary tournament we're doing where you play various variants. And the variant of choice here, played in this game between Tones and Sonoy, was Princess. Sonoy here is black, so we will check this game out from his perspective. And if you're wondering why, that has a fantastic animation, by the way. If you're saying, wow, 5D chess looks a lot different, this is because we are playing on the brilliant Alex Bay 218 F11 full screen. You're speaking my language. What a god. We're using Alex Bay's brilliant creation, chessin5d.net. Now, those of you who are in the know might be saying, but Samet. Okay, there is, when we flipped the board, it overwrote the new notations onto the old notations, but no big deal. These are small things, small hiccups. This is the dev branch of chessin5d.net. You guys may have used chessin5d.net. If you haven't, chessin5d.net is a brilliant website where you can, it's a free-to-play version of 5D chess with multiverse time travel. Completely open source. It's in browser. You can check it out now, chessin5d.net. This is the fancy remade dev branch, which has more features, more robust features, looks better aesthetically. It's a work of art. I mean, I haven't used it very much. I don't know if you will have access to the dev branch, but this is a work in progress, all right? So it'll be coming fully featured soon. If you go to chessin5d.net now, you'll see the old client, which is also fantastic. Brilliant analysis tools. You can like take back moves and you can import and export games, which are functions that can't be said for the main game Steam client. Always available here. There you go. Link there is in the corner. Might put it in the description as well for you YouTube viewers. So let's jump into this game now. Okay, first of all, let me point out, you guys will see of the brilliant tools on offer here are, at my behest initially included by Alex Bay, the ability to draw arrows, which in multiple colors as well, and you can link them together. Check me out like this to the, oh my, look at chef's kiss. What can we say? Might be broken since it constantly updates. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Okay. Now, those of you who have followed the channel know that I don't like Princess. It's not my fave. I think that, I mean, I enjoy the fact that the triagonal and quadrigonal movement options of the queen come so into play and enable you to make, they give you access to boards and timelines which otherwise you wouldn't have. Yes, the queen is incredibly strong, but I like that there is that tool that allows you to utilize more of the 5D-ness of the game at a time. The other thing that the princess doesn't do that the queen does is it being a less potent time-traveling piece means that games are drawn out much more easily. Like exiled kings, running your king away, it's much more difficult to track down than it is in regular chess, which draws out there than it is in regular 5D chess with the standard queen. Like in turn 0, the famous opening d pawn to f4. Exactly. I enjoy standard more because of triangles and quadrigonals, but I don't hate princess. I just don't like princess because a lot, if your opponent doesn't early resign the game, you can get a lot of redundant games where it's drawn out and there isn't really like an easy way to close out the game, and it's just a waste of time. You can watch some of the videos on Lexi's channel that illustrate the frustrations that he has at the game mode. I don't think it's terrible. I just don't enjoy playing it. I don't enjoy the lack of triagonals and quadrigonals, and I don't enjoy the fact that games are much more likely to get much more drawn out as a result. But anyway, I'm not here to pass judgment on Princess as a game mode. In fact, I will do quite the opposite. I will attempt to shove my biases aside for the benefit of this analysis. Now again, because of my proclivities against Princess as a variant, I don't have very much experience, so in terms of like the Princess meta, I'm just as inexperienced as most of our viewers here, I think. I don't know if Dreamer's still in the chat. Maybe he can toss some Princess knowledge our way as the victor of the one Princess tournament that we had a while back now. But anywho, let's get going. Here we have an example game on why Princess is bad to Sonoy. Okay. Let's get this started. Let me pull up the 5D PGN. It's a short little game, short and sweet. Again, we have Tones playing as with the white pieces, and we have Sonoy playing with the black pieces. This was, of course, a timed tournament match, best of one. Let's just jump into it. We start with, it's always a pain to read the notation backwards, but, oh, right, okay, we got to get out of this so that we can move the pieces. By the way, look at these, the way that the little boxes pop in, and the way that this, can we just take a second to appreciate? Look at that animation. Beautiful, crisp. All right, fantastic. We start with Knight f3. Well, some things never change, right? Knight f3 is a solid, if you're no matter what the variant is, Knight f3 is a solid developing move. It helps move towards your opponent's f7. It helps defend your own f2. I mean, come on. No, this move needs no introduction, regardless of variant. Even a defended pawn, you know, I play Knight f3. I would have said the reverse royalty is strictly better than Princess, if not for the exiled queens. Yeah, jury's still out on exiled queens. I don't know how to deal with it, but I love reverse royalty. Exiled queens, we still have to work out some kinks. But I mean, the flip side to that is in Princess has exiled kings, which is much more difficult, I think, to punish than in Standard. So even then, I think Princess, I think reverse royalty is the advantage. Anyway, I said that we weren't going to rag on Princess the whole game. Even though Andre, I feel, is a man of culture, a man of taste. Because we agree on this one issue. Okay. Let's get going here. Knight f3. Knight f3. We have Knight f6. Okay, Knight f3, Knight f6. Regardless of variant, there isn't a lot to analyze here. Knight f3, Knight f6. It's a tale as old as time. Whether you're going to play an e-pawn opening, a d-pawn opening, Knight f3, Knight f6 makes sense, right? If in Princess it's super hard to punish exiled kings, I think it is. I think it is. But again, I'm not going to get baited. Oh, I love that board pop-in. All right. We have c4. c4 is an interesting opening. I like c4 as an opening in turn 0 as well. Knight f3, c4. Well, let's remind ourselves the implication of Princess. The thing that will make the biggest difference here in Princess, for those of you who don't know, this is the first Princess game I've analyzed on stream. In Princess, the queen piece, which is called the Princess, does not have access to the triagonal and quadrigonal moves of the regular queen, meaning it is literally a piece which has the moves of the bishop plus the moves of the knight, or excuse me, of the rook. The way that the queen in 2D chess is just bishop moves plus rook moves, this is like a sort of more limited interpretation of that, the 2D queen being extended into 5D, which is just to have bishop moves plus rook moves, what is the implication of only having bishop and rook moves and not triagonals and quadriagonals? Well, it means that you don't have to close your triagonals or your quadriagonals in this game. So in other words, if you were to open up, if you were just to open, you know, with like a d4 here, for example, which actually maybe is interesting, you are not making yourself susceptible to the fool's mate of regular 5D chess, standard or turn 0 with the queen, where you have to close this diagonal up, otherwise you lose, right? So it is much more difficult to get, if not possible, to get these like timeline checks. The only mates that you have to worry about preventing are the same ones that you would have gotten from a bishop or a rook, right? So actually the princess is a much more substantially limited piece, and there are much fewer shenanigans. A turn 0 sacks or turn 1 sacks are similarly not, their efficacy is highly diminished, because after you force the king out here, if you like sack onto f2 or force the king onto f7 with like a sack onto f7, once the king moves here, all you have to do is close up this file with like the knight move, and there isn't this like queen triagonal made in the past that you have to worry about. So f1 and f7 sacks are an issue of the past. And even the travel is going to be like impossible. As long as knight f6 happens, you can't even travel to f2 or f7 with the queen, right? Because it's a princess instead. Anyway, just to give you, you know, just a backdrop to what we're looking at here. You may be confused, by the way, to see in the Chess in 5D updated client, this represents the past. Everything not in the past doesn't have this this diagonally striped out background. And this phantom board represents the next board, not the current turn. So like whatever move we make will appear on this board. So just to not let the UI confuse you. Okay, c4 is interesting. It's interesting because it doesn't impact. I mean, like the classical c4, like the c-pawn openings in 2D chess, serve to put pressure on the d-pawn, right? Obviously, if something like this happens, then it's a bit of a pain in the ass in standard, because the only piece that you can, you know, you'd have to recapture with like the knight, which opens up the f7 square, or with the princess, which can get kicked around like with this knight, because you can't recapture with like the c-pawn, because it'll open you up to triagonal mate, right? So that's why like the c-pawn openings are really annoying against the d-pawn openings. The thing is, this isn't the case in princess, because the d-pawn push isn't really necessary. And if you recapture, then you can happily capture with any other piece, and there wouldn't be any issue, right? So because the d-pawn is like less crucial, because it carries with it the burden of being defended by the c-pawn, it's not so big a deal to push the c-pawn, is my point. So black doesn't have to be super annoyed by this, but you know, let's see how this goes. How does black react? Black reacts with a cool c6. c6 makes a lot of sense. I do have to remind myself that I have arrows accessible here, by the way. The world is my oyster. Wow, arrows, imagine. Okay. c6 here is interesting. c6 here is interesting. Why? I mean, okay, so we talked about the role of... the c-pawn in discouraging the d-pawn issues by placing pressure on like the would-be triagonal here, but Wow, when you click this, the little circle that emanates from the button that you push, it's actually super nice. Just the little things that you got to appreciate in the UI. Anyway, sorry, got distracted. The D-pawn push, placing pressure on the D-pawn is still good. It's the reason that you play like the Sicilian and the English and classical chess, right? There are no triagonals that you have to worry about, but there is the issue of center control. And so the C-pawn push isn't like as critical of the opposing side's position in Princess as it is in Standard, but it's still effective. You can interpret this as a sort of like a Caro-Kann response in 2D chess, where this C-pawn push does actually serve as, I mean, the Caro-Kann is in response to E5, but you get to E4, but you get my point. You do, after the E5 push here, you just bolster with the C6 pawn, or with the D5 push rather, because if you put an arrow, it just reinforces it with another arrow. It adds like a layer of opacity instead of taking away the arrow. Interesting. Yeah, so C6 pawn here actually serves to defend the D5 pawn here rather than just close up the triagonal. So after like D5 takes, black has center control. So, you know, this is much more akin to like a 2D move than a 5D move. Let's see what happens next. Okay. We have turn 3, B4. All right. Interesting. B4 coming out. What a move. All right. Okay. This is like a heavy flank opening. Honestly, I don't know what to make of this move. All of my regular 5D intuition kind of goes out the window. I'm surprised that more minor pieces are not. I guess it makes sense that you get more pawn play in a situation where it's less easy to have sort of lethal combinations with these explosive attacks onto F2 and F7 because you don't have like the queen to follow up with the triagonal mate, right? So it makes sense. Okay, going to go, I guess. All right, take it easy, Andre. Catch you next week. Our European viewers, of course, it's getting real late out there, so can't blame them. Okay. The early pawn, this is interesting. Maybe he's going for a super frappuccino early to place pressure on the F6 knight with the bishop, right? And the idea is, like, against... Maybe the idea is that if this D5 comes out now, challenging for the center, then you get a cute C5 push to sort of lock down the position. I don't like that kind of closed position for white in this game mode. Then again, if we play it out a bit, London type structure, and then here, I wish I could highlight squares in addition to the arrows, but one step at a time. You do have like this really nice diagonal. I just wish the diagonals were straight, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. You do have an interesting structure that kind of makes it difficult for black to play on the queen side, but I don't know. It's interesting. In a game where tempo is as important as it is, like 5D chess, I don't like the pawn-heavy flank openings. Let's just see how this develops. I'm very curious to see how this goes. I'm not going to go too deep. I think like the sort of meta is also, so to speak, less well-developed for Princess than it is for the other 5D game modes. So there isn't as much theory fleshed out where I can compare, you know, there aren't as many tactics-heavy lines in the opening. You can kind of just wing it. So, hey, I mean, this does enable like the quick princess development. Let's see what black does here. Black challenges the center as anticipated. All right. Hey, Alex Pay worked hard to get this working. Cement, what about straight arrows and highlighting squares? Listen, I think that I gave Alex Pay his due. I mean, the man is an auteur. single-handedly crafting this experience for us, getting it working just in time. Princess doesn't even work. It didn't until Alex Bay came in, because we wanted to do an analysis of a game with the ability to draw arrows. And he just came, he's like, give me 5 minutes. And he just he made it work. He pushed the update, and here we are. So the man has all of my respect. The man has all of my respect. We'll be adding those, definitely. Getting feedback is important. Yeah, I mean, this is beta, right? So don't take, don't take my flippant comments as like serious criticism. Anyway, I just feel bad. I know that Snow is just joking around, but I don't want to seem ungrateful. Pre-alpha, we'll call it pre-alpha. Pre-alpha's fair. Okay. What the hell's going on here? D5, like we said. Now I wonder if you close up the position here. D5 challenging for the center. Obviously, if takes, and you've got or a nice. Although, I mean, what are you gonna do with it? You're not gonna push like E4, right? I mean, it's still. Let's calm down. Yes, it's princess, but we don't want to go too crazy. I mean, an E6 here, you still have to develop your light square bishop is the thing before you do anything else. But I don't know, for here, I think I like the lockdown of the position for white. It does make the development of your knight tricky, right? You kind of have to push up here and then make some knight moves, like knight b d2, and then sort of work outward from there. Then again, in a lot of these positions where you've got like the Frappuccinoed bishop without the d-pawn move, you have a lot of that development pattern happen anyway. This pawn here, like the c5 pawn, actually can be incredibly annoying. In my experience from like standard c4, c5 games. It's really interesting seeing that this is like a bad move here for white. Let's see what white does. I think that I'd push this, give up a little bit of center control, but sort of make it a pain for black to develop on these squares. Lock down the bishop from getting over here, and the bishop's gonna be like really annoying to get into play, the dark square bishop anyway, because the Frappuccino on the king side isn't fantastic compared to the Frappuccino on the queen side, which stares down like the king side, right? Anyway, I'm just having fun with arrows at this point. Wow, okay, turn 4, we have the princess move. Intending what exactly? Interesting. We have SB3. S is, of course, notation for the princess. SD1 B3. I mean, the thing, you're not really... The princess... It doesn't have... There isn't much play here for the princess, right? I mean, this diagonal is kind of locked down. If anything, this light square bishop probably wants to develop onto c6 here anyway. If you've got like pawn takes, it's not like the princess can come in here either. In fact, you probably want to... If takes, you probably take back with the pawn here, and then... This princess still doesn't see f7, right? So, a bit sketch. You're not giving your... I feel like you're shooting your own princess in the leg by shoving it into b3 here after you've played c4, b4, but... Let's see. For a second there, I thought you said sp3, like the hybridized orbital. Clearly, there are physical chemists in the chat. I got Vietnam flashbacks. No, hybridized orbitals are a nightmare, dude. All right, okay. Back to the game. Let's okay, we'll give white the benefit of the doubt here. They've got something up their sleeve. Bishop e6 does happen. Oops. Okay. Bolstering this pawn, honestly, overkill. Like, you probably could have pinned the knight here and... I mean, not that it's much of a pin because the e-pawn isn't moved and, like, damaging the structure. Like, half opening the file for the other player is actually, I think... It's probably beneficial for the player who's got the file opened, even though, like, you would be damaging the kingside structure in a game like 2D chess where castling is such a big deal. But then again, maybe castling is... No, I think castling is just as dangerous in this game mode probably as regular. I mean, there's still the anti-castle travel available for one. That has nothing to do with the queen. So the princess doesn't affect that. But listen... You bolster your center. If you're planning on frappuccinoing your bishop anyway, then it's no big deal. Like, absolutely preventing your e7 pawn from getting out of the way. So I respect it. It also pins. I mean, now if you've got like the bishop recapture, which is a pain in the print. Like the last thing you want to do after losing a tempo, developing a princess to an ineffectual square is to lose another tempo, getting it kicked from that square, right? So let's pick up the pace here. Let's get some action on the board. I mean, it's a short game, so I don't feel bad dilly-dallying. But turn 5, c5. Okay, close down the structure, exactly as I anticipated. Now it might get a little annoying though to with the bishop here, the Discoverino here gets annoying, yeah? I mean, the knight can't recapture because the princess takes back. And I mean, you can't defend... Listen, it prevents the knight from developing here. You can't push here because then you lose the pawn and then it opens up your structure and then suddenly you've got like a... With your d pawn out of the way, like if you... We're going crazy with arrows already, but if in response to d4 you play something like e3, then after takes, you open yourself up for like a nasty, you know, time travelinos in the future. So that's no bueno. I liked the locking down of the position before there was a bishop here, but hey, that's just me. This was the game which I showed my family saying en passant was possible and my father asking if that's a 5D only move. I mean, if you don't play chess, en passant, like, the levels of not knowing chess is like, wow, castling is a thing that looks completely made up. And then en passant is like, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah, no, for sure. To casual, even like casual chess players won't know en passant. So yeah, for sure. He played chess but never heard of en passant? Yeah, no. That's believable. I could see it. All right, so I like the pawn push here for black, but hey. But hey, this is what we got here. What does black respond with? b5. Ah, okay. b5. b5 is a move. There is en passant here. And does white take en passant here? Taking en passant here is probably bad. You've given up. I mean, what does that look like? White en passant here. All right, let's just submit. Oops. B5 here does come out on the board. En passant here. Oops. Okay, en passant is thankfully coded into chess in 5D. So this is pretty terrible. You just have the recapture. And then you've given black the center with no compensation. This pawn is completely out of sorts. Yeah, no, that's bad. So let's not do that for white. This is into the... Wow, this structure is so locked down. You don't see very many... You don't see a lot of endgames, so I'm always surprised to see like huge piece exchanges in 5D chess down to like, you know, a crazy endgame. But the thing that you see even less is like a totally closed position. Weird en passant not showing as capturing. What do you mean? Oh, is there a different color for captures? Ah, there is. Okay, yeah, good point. So, wow, these are like the niche. Normally, captures are highlighted as red, but here en passant isn't highlighted as red, even though it does correctly capture. It does the right move. Like I said a few hours ago, en passant isn't a capture, right? Okay. Interesting lockdown position. Like, what is? Okay. What we really need to ask ourselves is what does b5 do for you as black here? I think I really would have preferred to develop some minor pieces, either frappuccino this bishop, which is going to happen anyway, maybe like an h6 or an h5 to well, I mean, h6 would have prevented this knight from hopping in, not that you can do very much with it in this game mode anyway. Especially with this princess on the other side of the board. I probably would have played your g6 frappuccino or your knight bd7. But hey, this wasn't a bad move. I just locked down the structure. Where it's like we're erecting the Berlin Wall here. Maybe that's insensitive because this is Sonoy's game and he's German, but anyway. Yeah, let's see. It prevents b5. No, okay. If that's your logic, I can see. The problem is, the thing is that b5 doesn't seem like such a problem. Well, okay, it opens up your king side. It's a flank break, so I appreciate that you might not enjoy b5. I mean, what's b5 threatening? Like, if he's gonna close the position anyway, it's not a big deal. And if captures, then you captures yourself. Because that weakens the c5 square, right? So, like, after captures, then you have the knight out here to attack this, and the white queen side is sort of torn apart. But anyway, listen, I can appreciate the idea of b5. Let's move on. d4. Oh my god. Okay. This is what I expected. What a structure. What a shape here. You so rarely see like opposing pawn islands like this. The symmetry. I mean, hey, it makes a statement. You're gonna want to push this pawn anyway, just so that you can get like the, just so that you can activate the knight, right? Get this square open for the knight. Because it's not like the knight can do anything from the c3 square, but wow. Okay. Fantastic. How do you respond? The only logical move from white's perspective, or from black's perspective, is to perform a timely break. Now is the time. We break now. Yeah, thanks for symbolism. I mean, okay, to be fair, it's a little annoying for white, right? It's a little annoying for white. If you bolster with a3, then after captures, after captures, you lose the rook here because there's nothing defending. So how do you deal with this? I mean, it opens the file. It threatens this move. a4 would be pretty actually annoying for the white player. Actually, this is a nice break. What do you do here? I don't know. I mean, I guess you don't worry about it. Like, takes here weakens the c5 pawn, I guess, but you don't have to be too worried about it. You recapture with the princess, not like it's doing much anyway. Potentially, you develop bishop d2, although that does prevent the knight from developing. So, I don't know. Unclear. a5's an annoying move. Though if he captures, I take back with the princess. Oh, yes. If he captures proactively, that doesn't, that's kind of annoying. Even though it's not a queen, Okay, if he captures proactively here, then in regular 5D chess, that's a loss. But you recapture with princess, and it's also defended by the rook. So I wasn't considering b takes a4 for white here anyway. I like this move. I like this move from Sonoy. Well done. Pressure placed on the open king side. I think that's really good. Okay. What does Tones respond with? Okay, he does play the bishop d2. Okay. This is actually quite annoying. I don't know that it's necessary. I think you can just recapture with the princess. I don't see like the inherent drawbacks to this if this. Because now you stymie the development. When is this knight ever going to get the hell out of here, right? I mean, to illustrate the point, if the knight goes here, it's completely dominated. There are no legal moves for the knight. I mean, there are legal moves, but they all lose the knight, right? So all it can do is... the poor knight's only move is to go back here and then try to develop out this way. Obviously not fantastic. And then, of course, on the other side, this is just an excuse for me to... use these arrows to my heart's content. And then you've got this weird sort of development here, you know, and it's dominated on this side by this bishop. If it develops onto the dark square on the e-file instead of the light square. Yeah, so I don't like it. Stymies the development of the knight. You didn't really have to get a second defender onto the square anyway. The princess could have easily recaptured, so okay. But hey, this is the move. I'm already liking the board a little bit better. A little bit better for black. What happens? You can let the... I don't think there's any reason to resolve the tension here. I think that if you give white the opportunity to develop the bishop out, then suddenly they can develop their knight again. There's no issue. I mean, I think that pushing this pawn is actually really annoying, but I don't think you have to go too crazy here. Actually, I think that maybe even knight e4 is annoying here to hop in since d4 has been played and the white knight is on f3. There's no way to kick this knight. How the hell are you ever going to develop this bishop, you know? So then again, white's not in love with their dark square bishop. So if captures, then you just enable them to develop the knight. It's not the biggest deal in the world. I don't know. But I need to stop thinking so. I mean, the thing about 5D chess is that you really tunnel vision into these tactics. Like every single play is so volatile. In all of the game modes where there isn't a queen, you really do, there is like much greater emphasis on just developing your pieces slowly instead of like a bombastic two-piece combo. If the princess recaptures, I go for princess exchange, so the bishop was annoying. I got you. Okay, so in that situation, so Sonoy's thought process, it's helpful to have the man here himself. It was, wait, does he actually? Okay, he does. So this is the move that we see on the board. All right, so we do see this. We see knight e4, and so the idea is he wants to remove the bishop for the simple reason that if takes, then you've got a princess skewering or pinning the queen to the king, or pinning the princess to the king, I should say, if this bishop isn't here, obviously. And then the princess exchange is good for you because you've got the half-open file, you know, and your opponent doesn't have the b pawn. Yeah. I like the princess exchange. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. I mean, it overextends a bit. I would have liked to see the bishop frappuccino before any of that. Just, you know, play more solidly, develop your pieces. Maybe even like knight bd7 before like the early princess exchange. But we'll see. Just because keeping this bishop here for as long as possible delays the development of this knight as long as possible, and you can still hop in here with the knight if the bishop moves out here. I mean, if this bishop, the thing about this bishop is that if it develops out into this direction to enable the knight to develop, then that's perfect because you can just capture here and then do your princess exchange like you want it to do. If the bishop develops here, then you perform exactly the same kick with the knight as before, except you force your opponent to waste a tempo in order to attempt to develop this knight. So, I mean, it's like an incremental advantage here of one plan over the other, but, you know, still a note. I mean, that's what we're here for, right, is the analysis. So, what do we get here? We get knight c3 to attempt to kick this knight. It also it covers up this triagonal, which isn't like the biggest deal in the world. It does force the immediate capture. It doesn't really force the immediate capture. It actually it doesn't threaten much. Oops, not sure what I did there. It doesn't threaten much because, I mean, if white captures here, then you've got a double attack here, which is quite devastating. 2D tactics, hey. So if, I mean, on paper, all right, I hate this move for white. Why? You're not actually threatening anything. Like, on the surface, what you're threatening is something like knight takes e4, but that would be actually disastrous for the white player because with d takes e4 here, you open up the bishop attack on this princess and simultaneously threaten this knight with the pawn. And for aforementioned reasons, you don't want to move this knight here because it doesn't have any moves that don't lose it immediately, right? So I hate that move. I think that's a waste of tempo. I mean, hate's a strong word, right? You know, it is what it is, but I think that it's disadvantageous. Yeah, it doesn't really do what it purports to do. The black player can still do this at some point. It doesn't even have to be now, so not great. And it also forces the recapture. I mean, I don't know if that's such a... Because now when this takes here, you really have to capture with the princess. Before, I guess you had something of a choice. Because it wasn't threatening anything. But now after Sonoy takes this piece, this knight is going to be threatened. And you don't want to lose the knight. And for aforementioned reasons, you don't want to take this knight here because then you get the double attack with this pawn and with this bishop here. So I don't know. Let's see what happens here. Where are we? Knight b1 c3. We get... Okay, we do have pawn takes here, which is what I was afraid of for white. It forces this exchange, basically. So what do you do here? Oh, no. We do get the knight c3, e4. He didn't see the 2D tactics. Ah, tones. All right. Not fantastic. I already went over well spotted by Sonoy to see that this tactic is here, right? To spot the fact that this isn't good. Because now, well, okay, we'll just play it on the board. To be fair, I didn't see that either. Okay, Sonoy didn't see that until after the move was played. Which is fair, you know? It's, you know... I mean, I personally have been, like, working a lot on my chess vision. Like, you know, being able to sort of see it, like, 1 or 2 turns in the future. And see, like, how the board state's going to change. And it's like tricky to do if you don't play a lot of chess, which a lot of 5D players don't. And so Sonoy just took the knight thinking, okay, well, that works for me. But actually, here, there's the double attack. Here you see it on the board. If my arrows didn't make it clear before, you're simultaneously threatening this princess. And if you move the princess out of the way, then the pawn takes the knight, and you're up material. And it threatens e3, and it threatens e2, and it threatens g2, and it's just a nightmare. So let's see which one of these pieces. Probably you prefer to keep the princess. You take your losses. You probably move the... I don't know where you move the princess. Maybe you capture this pawn here. What does Tones do? Where are we at now? Okay, Tones here just takes the pawn, which makes sense. I mean, there's something to be said for... because you can always recapture with the You can always recapture with the bishop later, although it is annoying if he pushes the pawn again because you can't recapture because this rook will take this rook. But I was going to say it's kind of nice to keep the queen on the third rank here just because it can recapture this pawn, which will maybe be a pain in the ass after pawn takes, which is probably going to be the next move. Let's see. Let's see what we get. Here we're up material as black. Oh wow, okay. Interesting. Okay. So Sonoy doesn't go for the free material. He says, I'm hungry for more. That's a singly defended pawn that you've got there, so I can eat that up with my bishop and threaten ... question mark? Doesn't threaten as much as it seems to threaten. Simply because, like, what's white got to be afraid of here? Like, the bishop here? And he recaptures with one of two pieces? Actually, the fact that this is check is the only reason, but otherwise, like, this bishop is pinned, right? Like, if you princess here, then suddenly this is an issue because the rook attacks the undefended rook on a8. Can't white just save their knight? Am I wrong? No? Can you play 95 here? Then again, I guess in this game mode, you can open up this triagonal, no problem. And then the knight doesn't have anywhere fantastic to go. It gets kicked back. It gets kicked back to g4 by f6. So I guess it's a little annoying, but is there something I'm missing? Because I mean, if you get like a travel, it's not like mate or anything forever, right? Because it's just so many turns in the past. If he takes, I threaten mate with rook recapture. If he takes, I threaten mate with rook recapture. Okay, so I think what Sonoy's saying is, if he takes here, which isn't what I'm suggesting white does, by the way. I'm suggesting that white ignores this completely and saves their own knight. Like this, and maybe threatens some shenanigans. My point is, what is black threatening? White doesn't have to answer here. Yeah, if they take, then you take with the rook. I mean, it does hilariously threaten 2D mate, but that's not a huge issue. Then again, maybe it is, right? Maybe after you get like a princess back here, then queen here ends up being an issue. And then I guess you play bishop over, and that opens up the diagonal here, so maybe. Anyway, my point is that I would hate to do this as white. It just looks terrifying. At turn 14, I want you to calculate threats extensively because the following moves were the ones that took me the longest. Turn 14, where are we at now? Oh, there aren't turn markers? Oh yeah, there are. They're right here, which is super convenient actually. Turn 14. Okay, when we get to turn 14, we'll take a look. Yeah, white can just ignore here, and I hope that's what white does. Oh, okay, white does. All right, so white here does simply play e5, but as I mentioned a second ago, it can just get kicked immediately by f6. So nice to be able to play f6 and not like lose your lunch in this game mode, right? Let's see what we got going on here. I mean, knight g4. It's the only real square available to it, right? It's the only square where it doesn't get eaten immediately, so... 95. c6 is undefended! No, it's not. Sorry, I saw that the knight takes c6, and then I got excited until I saw that this knight just recaptures. Wait, am I taking crazy pills? Is there a reason that you would not want... to play knight g4 here? Am I taking crazy pills? Knight g4, and if you get kicked, then you can either hit up this outpost now, which is really annoying for your opponent to kick your knight from, or just hit up e3, yeah? Am I taking crazy pills? Okay, so the next move is knight takes c6. Obvious recapture is obvious, but then you win the pawn and you pin the knight, but you're down material. And you don't have what I would describe as a decisive attack. 2 pawns for a knight when in 5D chess? If it were regular 5D, then yes. Because there are terrifying triagonals. Like, you've torn open the... Okay, so let's play that out, because that is the line that we actually see. Knight recapture is obvious. Princess takes the pawn happens. Now, in regular 5D chess, you might be shooting bricks as black. Why? There's a mate threat, because you win on the spot, no matter what black does. Basically, they have to like sack a piece just to prevent this immediate win, right? But triagonals aren't a thing, so who the fuck cares? I completely listen. This is fantastic attacking intuition for regular 5D chess, where you are threatening both on the board mate and time travel mate. Okay, it's not mate immediately, right? Because you can just block. My point is that this is way scarier when there are triagonal mates that you have to worry about. But it's princess. Princess is the name of the game, so you don't have to give a shit. So I'm surprised to see this out of white. I think you're fine here. I think you're fine here. Now, is this where you want me to stop and evaluate the threats? Or is it the next move? Is what I want to ask Sonoy. No? All right, so let's go one more move. Well, let's analyze the position anyway. What the hell are we doing? What are we threatening? I mean, you're up material, but how do you convert, right? You want to trade? Next move for white. Okay, so it's this turn that we need to go into the think tank and see what Sonoy's cooking up here. I was shitting bricks. Okay. You want to defend the knight. Defending the knight is obvious. The thing is... Okay, the first thing that should stand out to everyone here is that this pawn is an issue. You don't really give a shit if this princess takes. You probably just move your king out of the way, man. King f7 is probably the safest play, right? And then you're threatening a mate of your own. Right? You're threatening back rank mate. You've got this bishop here is annoying. This princess is no longer staring down. If takes, you've got the rook here. So this is like a lethal combination. I think princess captures here is the clear... You even got a 2D mate, by the way. If you do... Well, okay, not a 2D mate on the board, but what you can do is something along the lines of here, threaten 2D mate like this next turn, and then after he deals with it, with either the queen or the bishop or whatever, you can go back like 2 turns into the past to capture this bishop, which is defended by this princess here. Like, pretend that there is a... After... Okay, is this the move that's played on the board? Let's see. Yes, okay, we do get princess takes d4. Okay, so imagine now a world in which Imagine now a world in which there's a princess here on this board. It's not immediate mate because the king can exile, but it's pretty damn close because the king can't exile anywhere good. Then again, there are no triagonals available, but imagine where this king would have to exile itself. Excuse me? Oh, the king can still castle. That's hilarious. I was wondering what the hell I was looking at. Okay. What a Chad play. Way to go out like a king. All right. What do you do as white here? The thing is, I don't think that there's any follow-up to this. Sonoy says, Princess C6 was still scary for me. Why? You can win on this. Oh, okay. Hold up. It is scary. And the reason is thus. We have to remember that it is, after all, 5D chess. After Princess takes here. Okay, so after Princess takes here, you don't have like immediate mate. And you're in check. So if you move your king out of check, then rook takes, or princess takes a8 is mate on this king in the past. No, it's not, because there's a princess there in time. So actually you win first, right? Pretty sure you win. So it's not very scary. Right? Okay, so this is the move where... Alright, so we do get princess takes c6 here, and this is the move where Sonoy told me to analyze. Now, the obvious concern... Weird, I can't scroll unless I select and deselect one of the colors for the arrows there after certain moves are submitted. So I don't know what that's about. Okay, so you might be thinking, to the naive viewer, you might be thinking this is an issue because after king f7, you've got a seeming princess takes a8 mate in the past. The only issue is you have to look at where this princess actually attacks in the past. Because there was a princess on d8 until very recently. So after this move, this princess on a8 will be looking at b8 on this board, c8 on this board, d8 on this board. So it's actually totally fine. So I'm not worried about that. I wonder if that's what Sonoy meant. Yeah, I calculated 3 times to see if SA8 wasn't mate. Yeah. No, you're good here. You're good here. Yeah, no, you're good. And of course, in the meantime, this is mate. The only issue is... Hold on. Is it mate the next turn? So we've got c8 here, d8 here. It is mate the next turn. It is mate the next turn. So you can't go... after princess takes, you can't go here, threaten mate. Only legal move is to go here. And then this mate, because you're mated on that turn. Right? You're one turn too slow to do your own mate. After that, I thought SC8 was mate once the rook is gone. Right. I'm with you. No, it doesn't have to be SC8. It can just be A8. Like if this is mate for white. If this happens... and then this happens, then this can't happen. Sorry, this can't happen because after this, white wins because this queen is checking this king. Sorry, this king from a8. So princess c8 is not necessary. So that doesn't work. But you can play... Okay, I mean, this move is on the board, yeah? Now you can play... As white... Hold on, captures here doesn't work. Or, sorry, captures here wins. Am I wrong? I guess you have a travel first. Doesn't it check? Okay, if it doesn't check the king on this turn, does black have faster mate maybe with the travel? Like the idea is that if you go SA8, it's not check that turn, it's mate the next turn though. But then this queen can from here capture here, and that's not mate. It probably is mate. Only move. So now it's white's move here, and you've got a princess there. It doesn't quadrigonal, so this king can exile to the future and buy itself time. If he captures, I win. I take the rook. Oh. Okay, sorry. I just did a very silly. Everyone ignore my analysis from a second ago. It's the end of an 8-hour stream. You can't blame me. It's my first day back to 5D chess in a while. Sorry. For the dumbest reason in the world, I thought that this wasn't mate because the bishop could block and then the princess would have to recapture for the mate. Sorry. Okay. That's not how 5D chess works. And I sincerely apologize. Okay, right. With that clarity, no, obviously this doesn't mate on this turn, which we already realized. And so the princess has to do something else. Well, the princess doesn't have to do anything. Because this is going to be mate for this princess next turn, but in the meantime, it has to not lose the game. The best way to do that is probably rook d1. Right? No? Doesn't this win you the game? Am I taking crazy pills? No, yeah, Princess A1 is immediate mate. I mean, that was evident. All you have to do is play rook d1. And then you have mate on the board next turn. So it forces like a rook move. But you're safe. Black doesn't have a win here. In fact, this travel, if it's too late for this travel, yeah, this travel probably exists. But it's not as lethal as it would be because the king exile happens. Weird. Bishop d5 prevents white's mate. True, bishop d5 prevents white's mate. You're not wrong. I can travel back or pull the princess back. Yeah. My point is that the game's not over. But what actually happens on the board after king f7 is rook takes a2, which is questionable. Because after rook takes, this is no longer mate, right? You no longer have this mate. Like, after rook recaptures here, now that you've done this mate no longer exists. And after rook recaptures, moving here, I think the king is no longer on e8 on the board, which you would be attacking. Right? So, like, obviously, a8 isn't, you know, but you have the backfile option now of princess c8, but it doesn't get there in time. And to illustrate that point, let's just see it on the board. After the rook recaptures, you don't have here now. This move threatens d8 and e8, but the king's already moved. Okay. Both players thought that it might, which is a bit of a nail biter. Here at the end, it's like, who's gonna get the mate first, me or you? And then obviously, okay, so this is how the game ends. All right, both players thought that princess c8 here was mate. I mean, it's the king gets out of the way in the nick of time, don't get me wrong, but it's super close. It's really interesting. Wow, I really would have loved to see the game if both of the rooks were pulled back instead of this happening. If we had like a rook d1, rook e8 situation here, I would have been really curious to see how this game played out. But instead, both of that was really interesting. The fact that this princess was here on exactly the right turn so that queen or princess a8 wasn't mate on the proper king in the past, wasn't a pass check. I won't say that it was lucky, you know, there isn't really luck in like a deterministic game, but holy shit. I calculated that it works before I made the move. Yeah, of course. Okay. This is really nice. Seeing this working, oops, sorry, zoom all over the place. All right, it was, Sonoy's instructions were very instructive here of looking at the board in this situation and evaluating the position was actually really interesting. Because you have to see that princess a8 isn't mate. And you have to see that after princess a8 isn't mate and the king gets away, taking the rook here and forcing the rook trade isn't mate because the princess on c8 on the appropriate turn checks on d8 here and e8 here, and the king is out of harm's way. That's like everything like just lines up, so like the margins of error. That's really pretty actually. Okay, listen, I talked shit about princess, but for a princess game, this is actually pretty nice. This was nice to cover. Both players had to be incredibly confident of their calculation in order to play out the match, right? Because, I mean, otherwise it completely determines what you have to do. Afterward, Tones told me he thought c8 was mate. Of course he did. Listen, if he didn't think that that princess c8 was mate, then he would have. There's no reason for him to play it because otherwise, you've got princess a8, a1 mate on the board, right? And I mean that's how the game ends, right? So just to finish up for everybody here who isn't following along. Princess a8 was attempted mate, but unfortunately this princess only sees e8 here after the king's already moved, and so the only move is to capture this bishop here, which is actually really exciting. It doesn't even give you a nice travel onto like a board here because the king is already out of the way. So, all right. In light of this, Sonoy, who outcalculated, deserved. This is a great. This is like the value of vision in 5D chess. Kudos to Sonoy. His opponent thought this was mate. Sonoy saw that it wasn't, And so he was rewarded with a mate of his own. And here we have checkmate. The game is over. The black player wins, for he is attacking... Ooh, UI's angry with me. For he is attacking the king on turn 13 from A1 all the way out here. Beautiful. There's also the check on the board, which is beautiful. It's interesting that the arrow drawing engine would make the arrow... Oh, no, it makes straight arrows straight, even if they're across timeline. Okay, never mind. I take back what I was about to say. Okay. Very clean game. Very, very neat little game. I like it. Fantastic. Short and sweet. My first and maybe only point in the prelims. Don't be so pessimistic. You've got a bunch of games ahead of you, Sonoya. Lawnmower says neat. I agree. It's a nice little game. I think this was like the perfect game to end stream on. No crazy heavy lines, no intense theory. You know, just a few like really nice little tactical altercations in like a compact 16 move game.